Well, it's winter in Maine, and we're still living aboard our boat, not going anywhere. It's winterized. I know a lot of folks at work, you know, it's like storming out, it's blowing a nor'easter, it's snowing, there's ice on the ground. They're like, how do you live on board that boat in the wintertime? And I think they've got no concept of how comfy and cozy it is, how nice it is. And so I want to share that with you guys.
Well, it's not really how comfy and cozy it is. It's learning to adapt to a cooler environment.
That's a good point. Yeah, I guess on its own is not comfy and cozy. You got to make it comfy and cozy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you're living early 1900s with no insulation or proper insulation.
Well, warm tea and down jackets help.
Yeah. And long johns.
And a wood stove.
And a heater.
Yep. Okay, we'll show you all those things. In the wintertime, filling up your water is a little bit more of a chore than in the summer because they turned off the dock water so the pipes don't freeze. So my options are to either carry jerry cans from the nearest building or to run lots and lots of hoses across the marina to the boat. Today I opted for carrying jerry cans. Water fill cap is frozen to the deck, but it's alright, I got a trick for that. I'll show you. Now I only use this propane jobber a couple times a year, but when I need it, it's really the tool for the job. Today I'm gonna melt that cap so I can get in there. Now this thing's not that scary. It makes a little pinpoint propane flame. And now there's a lot to burn down in here. I've got my cover, I've got my tow rail, I've got, you know, my dock line, but I'm not too worried because, I mean, you just gotta put that flame right where you want it and don't burn down the stuff you don't want to burn. Melt out that ice. Let's give that a try. Now I've got my universal cap opener here, my Leatherman tool. See, it spins like a champ. No problem. It's hot, but not burning hot. Covering up the boat for the winter has many advantages. I mean, it keeps the UV damage from the lines and the deck. It keeps most of the snow and the rain out, and it keeps the wind from like cutting into the cabin top and cooling off the boat. It's kind of a greenhouse effect. It traps heat, and so makes it livable. The only disadvantage is it can be pretty dark. You know, you got to get out and go for a walk and spend some time off the boat, or else you turn into a cave troll. But Morgan, she a couple years ago sewn in some windows, some of these clear vinyl windows that does let in a little bit of light. It's amazing what a little bit of light will change your situation compared to no light at all. As we walk around the boat here, you'll see that one difference in the wintertime is we leave things on counters. I mean, it's still pretty tidy. I mean, tighter than, some houses that Morgan and I have visited. Still a tidy boat, but, this would never do. Like, I mean, we've got a tea mug on top of the wood stove. I mean, if we were sailing, that would just fall right off. But because we're not sailing, things can just hang out on surfaces.
So wintertime is a good time of the year to use the weather as another way of keeping your food cold. I use the cockpit as my main refrigerator. It usually ranges from 45 to 55 degrees in the daytime and lower at night. I use my boat refrigerator. I don't use the sea frost system in the wintertime. It just stays cold naturally from the outside air and water temperature. And then I also use the boat floor to keep my food cold when it's too cold outside.
So wintertime living's a little bit easier in a way because complete lack of bugs. I've got no bug bites, no bug repellent, just no bugs, which is really great. And the colder temperature keeps the mold from growing and humidity down. And so you don't like open up a locker and just find a kind of a gross surprise in there. That happens way less often in the wintertime. Arguably, one of the top upgrades we did to this boat was install an S-bar diesel heater. It draws the diesel from our main engine tank, and then and the furnace is located in our port lazarette. And then we've got a control unit here in the cabin, and it's like Morgan's baby. She freaking loves this thing, and so I'll just let her show you how she works that control unit. Let's get this out of the way.
So this control unit allows me to set a schedule of when I want the heater on and for how long. It's got 3 different settings program settings that you can use for your week. I usually have it set for the morning and the evening, but when I know there's going to be a major temperature drop, like in the single digits, I run the heater 3 times a day and maybe more in the evening when I'm home. Let's
take a look at it.
Right now I have the heater on, and all I have to do is click this button and set the temperature that I want the heater to make the room at and how long I want it. I had originally set it to 60 minutes, but 50H just fine. This controller also allows you to figure out what the errors are for that heater. So you might have to do some research and digging to figure out how to get to the errors and the fault codes.
So when it comes to that heater program, it's really handy to have that thing fire up, so when you get up for work in the morning, the boat's already starting to get warmer. It makes getting changed for work a lot easier. And then if you got it timed so that when you come home from work, it's already fired up, you come home to a warm boat and not freezing. And so we use that timer. It's part of our lifestyle. I'll let you guys in on a little secret heater in the V-berth. There's not much of a secret. It's just this little guy Picked it up at Walmart this year, nothing fancy, but while we were plugged into the dock, we've got AC power, so you can run something like this. And it's like a blow fan heater, and so it just blows hot air like right onto your feet as you climb out of bed. And you know, it helps to get ready when you're getting up for work. It's cold, you're a little depressed, well, at least you've got a little blow fan heater blowing on your person. Well, the sun is set, and Morgan is busy making supper. And I'm going to show off our last heat source, our wood stove. Now, it's a little baby wood stove for the boat, and so it takes little baby pieces of wood. You know, I can't just have like a cord of wood delivered and, you know, stack it outside my place because, well, I don't have a yard to stack it in, and it would never fit in this wood stove. So, you know, one thing we do fuel it with is these bio bricks. Like, they're pretty handy because, I mean, yeah, you gotta pay money for them. It's like $5 a bag, but I mean, they just stack so nicely, and so it's really great for space saving on board. And also, in here, you can see that you got these chunks of maple that we get from the neighbor. Now, in years past, and still a little bit today, I guess, like, we'll just use whatever cast-offs we can find around the yard. Like, every single year, people cover their boats, and they use strapping for the framework underneath the shrink wrap. And, you know, then they just toss that stuff out. They put it in a big, like, pile. They'll be loaded into a trailer and thrown away. And so we'll just take some of that and then, you know, take it to the chop saw and make firewood out of it. But, you know, when you're a boat owner, you got to be kind of creative about where you find your wood, and especially if you don't have to pay for it, that's even better. So you just fill it with all the paper scraps that you get from life. We'll just save up our paper scraps and throw it in there. We've got a little side bucket. We'll throw the scraps in. Right now it's a little overfull, but once I get it lit, I'm sure it'll just go all burn down to ashes.
You want onion?
Sure. Something I like to do from time to time is just clean this window up. I take a wet paper towel and I wipe up some ashes. Use the ashes as a bit of an abrasive, and that's all you need to polish this up. That way I can actually see my fire in there. See? How's that?
That's nice.
Now you might be asking yourself, you know, wood stove on a fiberglass boat, is that safe? And I think so. I mean, it all depends on how you install, I suppose. But let's take a little look at the details on this thing. And so it's a 50-pound wood stove that I bulkhead mounted, and it's got stainless steel flashing around it. And you know, we got to be careful that the cushion doesn't get too close to it. Kind of monitor that for temperature. But one of the big dangers, I think, is when you open the firebox, you know, having something hot roll out and try to catch fire. But we've got a cutting board to catch that. And underneath it is a wool blanket. Figure that will smolder before it just bursts into flames. And you can roll that on top of whatever coals. If it came to an emergency situation, you can throw the blanket on top and smother the fire. And then as it exits the deck, I mean, that's something else that you got to be careful about. And I removed fully 1 inch of deck around the stovepipe here, or the chimney pipe. Yeah, I've got an oversized flashing on top to cover up my air gap all the way around. So this does not actually make contact with the boat at all, except for very lightly where it touches this, ventilated cover piece. Now, you can put your hand up here. It never gets hot. It gets warm. And especially when I first installed this, I monitored the heat up here very closely. Never got alarming. Always just warm. So I feel pretty safe about that. Another thing you got to worry about is carbon monoxide poisoning. And but we've got carbon monoxide detectors all around the boat. I mean, they should go off before we, die. Oh yeah, and fire extinguishers, where he wants me to mention. We keep a fire extinguisher in every compartment on this boat. We inspect them regularly. Somebody once asked me if I had, if I do fire drills on board, and I don't really do fire drills on board, because Morgan and I both know where all the fire extinguishers are, like the back of our hand. And so, if the fire goes off, here's the drill: put it out. That's the deal. Just put out the fire. That is the drill. Isn't that right, honey? There's one crew member on board that really loves the wood stove. He just likes to chill out. That's his spot right there. Loving it. Isn't that right, Moo Moo? Kitty cat.